Good morning, beautiful people. I wanted to give you guys and myself some advice because I'm a very male decentered person. I can say that with full confidence. I always have been by nature, and I think almost in an unhealthy way because I've always put a major emphasis on my friends after my family because that's just how I've been raised. I've been raised to not think about boys until after my career has been sorted out. And honestly, I thank my parents so much for that mentality because I've watched people around me and friends like from a young age to now, all throughout our teenage years, spend so much of their energy and their thinking time and their physical time and just so much of themselves on boys. And I do believe you have to learn to love yourself first and learn about yourself first before you can love someone else in a romantic way, because you can love your family members when you're like 3, but I think the skills that a romantic relationship require, you can't demonstrate if you can't be there for yourself in the same ways in a healthy, stable way. Because then I think, if you imagine it like a scale, I think that's when you start to get into either destructive or anxious attachment styles. So I've just always not even like bothered thinking about it. That doesn't mean that I haven't had crushes or that I haven't just been so completely like head over heels for someone who has no idea, or for months that I haven't like yearned over someone, because I have, and it makes me want to eat myself alive saying that because that goes against everything that I that I think. I do eventually, of course I do. I do want a romantic relationship, but I do want one ideally after like my career and art is sorted out and I'm sorted out. And in terms of me being sorted out, that I mean when I can say like, yeah, I'm really happy with these aspects of myself and I feel like I've healed myself from this and from this, and I know how to communicate now in this way, and I know that if this situation would arise, I would act like this because I've trained myself to, or I've healed in this way. And I think it's going to take some more time for me to do that, but also because romantic relationships in particular, you could say the same for friendships and non-romantic relationships to some extent, but I think in particular having a partner, like even the name holds so much weight. Like, what do you mean a partner? What do you mean like my other half? Like no, like no, because to me they're meant to be seasoning to your life. Like, you are meant to be a whole meal by yourself, and friends for me are the vegetables, or they're like the carbs, you know, like they're a part of that meal. They're a whole food group, you know, like we work together to be a meal. We're not just like 2 ingredients. We work together to act as a nourished plate together. But for me, I found it really useful to think of men as seasoning to the meal. Like, you don't need them. They're you know, they can add some flavor, add some spice, add some fun, but you don't need them to complete yourself. Like, that's why I do not like phrases like your other half. Like, I don't even think that when I'm married I'll say that, because I just don't like what it implies. I mean, maybe if you're really stable in yourself, like in your sense of attachment to other people, then you can have phrases like, oh, my other half and things, because you know that it might mean that in like one aspect. It might mean like that's my other half, like my work wife, or like in that sort of sense, not in a holistic sense, because I think that there's a danger of it transgressing into a wider array of things where you start to think of them in every sense. And that's why I'm talking to you guys today, because recently I found myself having basically cognitive dissonance with how I think about men and how I act. Because there's this boy. I may have shown a bit too much my interest or attachment, or whatever you want to call it, with a couple of phone calls or texts. You know how it is. But that's not the point. The point is, how do we move on from this? Here are some tools for your toolkit, people. It's basically for myself, but I found after like years and years of like experiencing this, these are the ones that work. Here are some tools for your toolkit. You are going to want to get to the root cause of everything. Figure out what it is you like about this person. I'll give you some examples. I liked that my person is kind in a very genuine way, is so incredibly sarcastic and so incredibly well spoken, and I liked that he was warm and just felt like a big warm hug. But I particularly admired his intelligence, holistic intelligence, emotional, in like intellectual, academic, worldwide, whatever. Just having a good sense of the world as well. And you might say that everyone has that to some extent, but this was very, very admirable, the level of it that it was. And I find with that, you normally get a dose of arrogance, but not this time. It was the complete opposite. Do I smell? No, something smelled. I think it might be my food. Anyway, so I thought to myself, okay, man, if those are things that you like, do you like them being presented to you, or do you like them because you want them? So I was like, fuck, I think I just want to like be him. I don't think I want to be with him. I think I just want to be him. Let me say, I have already made myself into the type of person I want to be. I'm 100% not there yet. I still have a lot of learning and growing to do, but thus far I have created the person that I want to be. Through a lot of trial and error, through a lot of rewiring of my brain, and through a lot of intentional behavior changes. That doesn't mean I still don't have things that I want to improve on, and I still don't have things that I want to do, because I do. But I give myself grace because I know that they can take time. However, I don't give myself too much time, because then I know that can turn into excuses. So I thought to myself, okay, if I want to inhibit these traits, these characteristics, how can I do that? So I'm gonna make a list. I'm gonna make a list right here with you guys. What can I do to be more genuinely kind to myself? Because you have to do things for yourself first, and then you can do them to other people. Because doing it to yourself first... Okay. I have 2 bottles. This is me. This is my friends, family, co-workers, teachers, everyone in my circle who I give the tiniest shit about, okay? This is me right now. And this is my potential words, time, feelings, emotions, all of the things that give me soul. And this is my brain. I'm not saying they're separate, but I'm saying in this case, it can help to compartmentalize those things. And this is my friends, okay? And everyone else. if I pour all of my emotional bandwidth into my friends and their bottle is so full it's overflowing, right? They're gonna give some back to me because that's human nature and it's overflowing. But where's the emotional bandwidth for myself? I haven't let myself, oh look, caps on, because I haven't let myself have the space and time and emotional currency within my own brain because I've given it to other people. You see? So now my friends can help me, but I can't help myself. But if I poured some into myself and then I poured some into my friends, now we can both share with each other and we can probably do it of better quality because your friends aren't so overwhelmed with your emotional interactions and you have spared some for yourself as well. But the idea is you give some to yourself first and then you give it to everyone else. Because giving it to yourself can also help you see how to do it properly and not in a lazy, half-assed, arrogant, selfish way. Okay? So the point was, I have these traits. For example, let's say that was kindness that I was pouring into myself first. A lot of people are kind to their friends, they're not kind to themselves. And it, for whatever reason, there could be a whole array of reasons. I find a lot of the time it's a learnt behavior. Like we talk down upon ourselves, like we say, oh, I'm so stupid at this, or like, oh, I should have done that, like I was so lazy, blah blah blah. You would never say that to your friend unless they needed a wake-up call. Sometimes you should, and I'm not saying don't be direct and honest with yourself and with other people, but it's the way you do it. You want to be gentle and kind to yourself. Studies have shown talking to yourself in third person, oh, Aman, you could have done this earlier, but like I do understand you had a lot on your plate, but just remember that's not an excuse to not do it ever. Okay? So maybe try and get this on your top 3. You have to gentle parent yourself, and it's gonna sound ridiculous when you start doing it, but it feels amazing because it feels like another person is talking to you, because hopefully that's how you talk to other people around you, in a kind, gentle way. And I'm not saying give yourself a lot of excuses or be overbearing with yourself or be arrogant or just go in that direction. I'm saying treat yourself how you'd want to be treated, because that also it trains you to treat other people like that. So for example, with let's call him mango syrup. So I don't know why I said mango syrup, because I'm staring at a bottle of blueberry syrup and I don't want to call him an actual name, because if I do, every time I know someone with that name, I'm gonna think of him, and I don't want to do that. And I never had mango syrup, so there you go. I won't ever think of him within this example. So with mango syrup, i.e. the boy, I really like that he's kind, really incredibly intentionally kind, and not just with his words, with his time, with his actions, and even with his eyes, you know. So I want to inhibit that trait. Okay, good for you. Good that you want to do that. How are you going to do that? And how are you going to do that in not a superficial way? And remember, every time you like a trait from someone and you decide you want to employ it in your own life, it's not stealing, it's not copying. There's only a number of traits in this world, like a certain number, and everyone shares them and everyone is going to execute them differently. So it's never stealing, it's just a redoing, you know, it's taking inspiration from and doing it in your own way. So you have to make it easy to be kind to yourself, and this could go for a number of things. Like, if you want to be funny, you have to allow yourself to see things from a comedic lens instead of a, oh my god, this is so annoying lens. So it's a general thing, but you have to give yourself space to be kind to yourself. So, and you have to make it easy, because also there's no damage here. Like, it's only going to make you an easier person to be around, and it's going to make it easier for others to be kind around you, and you're going to like yourself more and others will like you more. It's not that black and white, but that facet of yourself will be a lot more enjoyable to yourself and other people. So let me give you my own example. I would be a lot kinder to myself, and I'd be so much prouder of myself actually if I was further in my career than I am now. I am a researcher at heart. I'm not a doer, and I think we all are to some extent. I think there's especially with new things, because a lot of people are doers. They go. Like, my dad is like that, right? But I think you do have to train yourself to be, because humans are very risk averse, and they're very competent in thinking about things, but physically doing them, there is the tribal biological aspect of that entails some danger. Bella Dane, love her, who always gives the example of a saber-toothed tiger and an apple. Our brain in us, in our bodies, has a risk-averse safety mechanism where, say you were hungry and you wanted the apple. You really wanted this red, juicy, glossy, beautiful apple hanging from this beautiful green tree. But then you see a tiger. Oh my god, this tiger's creeping up on me. I have to run. I have to go back home to my family, who need me to feed them and who need me to get shelter and supplies for them. So you run away. You know what you're thinking about when you run away? Not the apple. You've forgotten about the apple. Your brain is always going to focus on surviving and safety, and is in threat detection mode all the time. Nowadays, thankfully, we don't really have that many saber-toothed tigers around us, but we do have threats, and we do have other types of dangers. So our brain still benefits from that mechanism. However, you don't want that mechanism to crowd all aspects of your life. Camera slipping. So that would be my response to why I find it a lot easier to research rather than do. But you just have to do. Just get over yourself, just do it. And I know that if I started to just do, I'd be a lot kinder to myself, because I wouldn't have a need. Like, this is the main focus where I might be unkind to myself in my personal life. I get frustrated and I get overwhelmed and I feel like defeated and disappointed, mainly because I know that I can do it and I know that I have all the tools around me to do it, but I just don't do it for whatever reason. I just don't. And it's not like I have like absolutely nothing to do, and that's like a reason why you should be maybe a bit disappointed. If you have absolutely nothing to do and you have all the resources and you actually know how to do it and you're just not doing it, that maybe then you should be like, okay, what's wrong with me? Why am I not doing it? Especially if it's going to benefit you. However, like, I'm a uni student, I have a bunch of things on my plate, so that's when I give myself grace, and that's when I'm kind to myself. However, I would be a lot kinder to myself if I managed to juggle both of those things. You see, you got to do what's best for yourself, not just one thing or the other. So that's where I'd be a lot kinder to myself. And okay, let's go for the other thing. Sarcastic. Yeah, he's incredibly sarcastic, but in a very charming way. And there is a direct correlation with intelligence and humor. Funny people are smart. They're incredibly intelligent. They're witty. They're banterful. They know how to be funny. You could, and this is a common misconception. I think class clowns like are a bit different from funny people, because class clowns, and you don't have to just think of class clowns in terms of like in school. You get them, I think everyone knows like a class clown who's not in a classroom, but the difference is being laughed at and being laughed with. So being laughed with, you know, and that's also, it shows real social competence. You know how to get people to laugh, you know how to read a room, how to get certain types of people to laugh, like who your audience is. So it's a real skill, and you can be funny by nature for sure, but being intelligent will give you a lot of material to work with. Like imagine you're a comedian, like they need to read scripts, they need to learn jokes, they need to read plays, blah blah blah, and that's their material. Our material is like, by ours I mean just people who aren't comedians, who are just people who just want to be funny or who want to tell a joke. So their material would be everything that's going on around them in the world, let's say. So let me make a joke about this and ease the tension, or let me make a joke about the political state of the world and hopefully add some lightness to a very heavy subject, that sort of thing. So what would I need to do in order to be funny or sarcastic and witty in the same way? And remember, we're not copying, but we can take inspiration from. So my take on that is that if I am well versed in what's going on socially, culturally, politically, economically, basically if I have a well-rounded education, and this is I mean, it sounds like a lot, but really just like read an article a day. Read an article a day. Just do it. Just do it. If you have the resources to do it, you're so lucky to have a wealth of information at your fingertips, online, in the library, whatever you want to do. Literally, keep your computer by your bed for when you wake up in the morning. Maybe not too close because of potential radiation. I don't know. I don't know too much about that, but my mum always tells me things. So maybe not too close, but keep it within a reasonable amount of reach, so that when you wake up, the first thing you can do is read an article. Ideally, it wouldn't be on a screen. Ideally, maybe print it out. You know, print it out the night before. Print out a week's worth. And then have one to read. One every morning. Why don't you try that? Or podcasts. Oh, podcasts. Don't get me started on podcasts. I get most of my information about the world from podcasts. I do have particular interests, so I could widen my horizons for the sake of using this information to have a good sense of what's going around in the world, and also for witty, sarcastic humour. I listen a lot to Human Lab, Bella Dane's How to Stop Being a Loser, and the Mel Robbins podcast. Those three, they're quite a dynamic interplay of pieces of advice and education, everything from neuroscience to biological science in Human Lab. Mel Robbins, very, very well-rounded in itself is the podcast, because she has a lot of guests on who talk about everything from women's health to like studies on regret and why people have regrets and how to not have regrets, etc. Bella Dane basically tells you how to stop being a fucking loser. and get your life together. So this video is very Bella Dane style, I will say. Love her so much. She's very real, very, very direct and very real with her words, and I think some people get a lot of hate for that, but tough love, people, it works. So that could be how you can be funny. And do you see how all these traits, they give you a wider bucket of tools that you can receive, as opposed to just the one trait? So self-work, self-improvement, it's the most fulfilling thing that you'll ever do in your life. The most fulfilling thing. I think a lot of people, they have these big goals and they think that those big goals, i.e. having a family, getting married, buying a car, buying a house, they think that those will fulfill them and those will round out their life. No. Those are milestones that everyone wants to hit because of the structure of our society, and that tells us that you're successful. And I want to have a family, I want to have a nice car, I want to have a nice house. It's on every one of my Pinterest boards. It's what I go to sleep thinking of most nights. I want it, but I know that that's not what's gonna be the thing to fulfill me. What's gonna fulfill me is the everyday life actions and environments I'm in. It's the smaller things that build up to the bigger things. So me having a great personality that I've created and that I've perfected to a T, it's going to give me the tools to go out and meet the type of people that I want to meet and have the social interactions that I want to have and be in the experiences and places that I want to be in, and give other people a nicer experience with myself. So it's only a win-win, because that also helps you feel more complete on a daily basis, as opposed to thinking that as soon as you get the job you're going to feel complete. Like, no. And I know that when I get to a place where I want to be in my career, I will feel, hopefully, knock on wood, like I will feel a lot more stable and a lot more comfortable in terms of that area in my life. I don't know if it will feed into other areas of my life, but what I do know is if I keep on with the small things in my life, i.e. fulfilling my daily rituals, my diet, my physical health, my friendships, my family, my style, if I keep on fulfilling those aspects of my life, I know that if I'm not in a place for any reason where I want to be in my career, for example, or with the car that I want, it's not going to hurt as much because I have a well-rounded life. And that well-rounded life is eventually going to get me to the place where I need to be with a car or with a job. You see? So the smaller things equal bigger happiness than the bigger things. That's not to say that I won't be over the moon, like jumping up and down when I get the car that I want. I will. Oh, I will. And I will relish in it. And I will show it off. But I know that it will mean nothing. It will mean nothing without me having a connection with my mum and my dad, or me having a connection with myself, or me caring about myself, or me knowing that in 20 years I've done everything I could for my skin, my health, and my physiological health through diet, exercise, supplements, researching what's good for me, blah blah blah, because I care about myself. So I know that those big things, they mean nothing if you don't do everything else. That must have been very, very wonky. It's getting sunny, people. Intelligence is another big thing for me with mango syrup, because it's not just like one type of intelligence, it's all types of intelligence. He's the one who actually taught me about, not even through his words, but through his like actions, taught me about how intelligence has different facets. You have emotional intelligence, academic intelligence, just being like aware, like politically aware, socially aware, all these types of intelligences. Okay, for incoming. Yeah. So, and that is something that I admired so much because it just opened my eyes to a whole array of things. I mean, I could go through a billion like ways of thinking and structures of thinking that he's taught me just through his words, like not even through telling me directly about it, but just from hearing him speak. I'll tell you some of the big ones, and I do have a point. I'm going somewhere with this. Different structures of thinking can be employed for different times in your life, and these structures of thinking can be transferred to different situations where you may not think they can be. I learned, for example, that it's not always the structure of something, it can be the content. And it's not always the content of something, it's the structure. I'll give you a really basic example. So, say you are eating 3 meals a day, that is your structure. Structure is beginning, middle, end, right? The content would be what food you have. And I'm not going to tell you to eat healthy or eat unhealthy. I'm going to tell you to think about what you're eating for yourself. Some people, for example, have a really hard time digesting raw vegetables, like raw broccoli. It's a bit too much on the gut. But when you steam them, it breaks down. I think it's the enzymes, or it's something in like the broccoli gets like broken down, and it's a lot easier on the gut to digest, and you get less gassy and less bloated. So maybe don't change having the meal with broccoli. Don't say, no, I'm not going to have dinner because it's making me bloated and I go to sleep really uncomfortable. Just think about the root cause. That's another way of thinking. Think like, okay, why? What could it possibly be? Every day, switch out one thing from your plate and see what the problem is. And even with everything on your plate, switch how you're doing it. I.e., don't eat it raw, eat it, steam it. Sorry, it had a B. Because sometimes it's not the structure, it's the content. So changing the content in this case will be changing from raw broccoli to steamed. So there you go, 2 ways of thinking: root cause thinking and changing structure versus content. There you go. And that is such a trivial example, but it can be applied to much higher like risk and more dire situations. I find myself doing it a lot in academics when I'm analysing, because I study visual arts, so I have to do a lot of analysing political, sociological, emotional, cultural contexts and things like that, and it can become a bit repetitive, like the structure or the formula that you use. So employing these different tones and ways of thinking can really up your game, and even in your daily life it can help you become more empathetic. It can help you be less judgmental because you just see more. There's more color in the world. Like the shapes are sharper, the grass is greener, everything's just better when you think in different ways. And it's not like you have to employ one way of thinking for the whole day and then switch it for another day, or like one for work, one for home. No, like you're constantly switching between them and your brain is like whoa, because it's just the best thing ever for yourself and for other people, for how you treat other people. Genuinely, like you wouldn't believe like the differences that come naturally in your behavior towards other people when you start thinking, and I'm not saying like look through other people's eyes or like put yourself in their shoes. I'm saying like the way that you mold the dough. Like everyone has dough. Let's say there are 10 people in a situation. The situation is the dough, but everyone's gonna mold it differently and make a different pizza. What else? Kind, funny, intelligent, warm, just warm. Okay, this is a big thing because this is less of like an action thing and more of just an existence thing. Warm people are the big dear Lord. Sorry guys. Right, warm people are the best people in the whole world to be around because they're so full of love. They almost have like an orange or yellow aura. They are kind, they are loving, they are giving, and they are warm because they're good. They are just good people. They have good intentions, good morals. They want good for everyone, and that's what mango syrup embodies. And I loved that for me because being on the receiving end of that, it made me feel safe. It made me feel motivated because I feel like when you have a safety net, and mango syrup was a huge part of that, or is, I don't know. But when you have that, you feel like it's a lot easier to launch off the pad, like jump and bounce off the trampoline and jump as high as you can because you know that you will be caught. And warmth from a person gives you such a big feeling of safety. So for other people, that does immense things for them, and it does a lot for you as well, being the warm person, because you cultivate stronger relationships and people like being around you more. Like you'll get invited to more things, you'll have better quality relationships, higher quality, and you just know that you're a good force in the world. So, and being warm is definitely subjective, but that was my take on what makes a warm person. But I do think the heart of it in general is just being good, like seeing things in a good way. And a big part of that is not being judgmental. A big part of that is wanting the best for everyone, knowing that there's not a limit at the top. For there to be a top, there needs to, I mean, scarcity increases perceived value. So for sure, if there's less people at the top's gonna seem of higher value. But really, even if everyone was at the top, there's still a top, you know? And for sure, like for there to be a top, like there needs to be a bottom, but that doesn't mean there needs to be people at the bottom. People know what the bottom is without being there. And I think also just being incredibly secure in your sense of self, and that doesn't mean that you can't have insecurities or things that you don't love about yourself. Typically things that you can't change, because if there's something about yourself that you can change, and I'm talking mainly personality wise, not so much physical aspects, but even to some extent, if you can change the physical aspects that you don't like, it will give you a better sense of self. Because if you're aware of something that you don't like and you're not changing it, that also creates discomfort. I think the main discomfort is in knowing that you can change it but you're not changing it, and not so much the thing itself. So with changing aspects of yourself that you don't like, I'm talking about things that can be changed easily, that require low effort, and that mainly correlates to your personality, not your physical being. But if there are aspects of your physical being that you don't like and that you can change, that are within your power to change, and I'm not talking in extremities as in plastic surgery, I'm talking about like tweezing your eyebrows kind of thing. That's what I'm talking about. I'm saying that there is a line that you could go over where it's kind of like, are you doing this to maintain yourself or are you doing this to change yourself? In terms of physical looks, but with personality, I think you're ever changing. I think it's complete bullshit when people say humans don't change. They don't change if they don't want to. And if they don't want to change, you're not the person for them, because you will change without even knowing with the right person. They will bring out the best in you and you will be presented as a different person. So I never ever ever want to hear humans don't change, because it's not that black and white. Humans can have a hard time changing, but we are neuroplastic beings, meaning the brain has the ability to rewire itself and create new neural connections if we so wish. It may take time to undo old behaviors and old patterns, but who cares? If it's going to get you to where you want to be, start right now. And I say this with a lot of understanding and grace, because I know it's a lot easier said than done. But I'm just letting you know, like, you can do it. You can do it. And you will. You'll do it. So with mango syrup, I mean, we've worked through the reasons that I am calling him mango syrup and not his actual name. But that is an example of how you, my friends, can apply aspects of someone that you like to your own life. Because a lot of the times we don't like the person, we like what they embody. And we would really just want to rather be them than be with them. Everything that I've talked about, I truly, truly believe you can do. You can do it. And it may not be kindness or humor, intelligence or warmth for you. It may be like drive. They may be really driven. It may be that they really take care of themselves physically or at the gym, or really good with skincare, something like that. Or that they're a really good sibling or a really good parent even. So it could be a number of things. But yeah, because remember what I said at the start. Men are seasoning to your life and you are the whole meal. How can men be seasoning if they have aspects of the meal that you want? You gotta take inspiration from them, from the seasoning, and put it in your own meal so that you have all the ingredients, and again, they're just with the seasoning. Let me just say, this is going to differ completely if you're in love with someone or if you're in a committed relationship. This is just how to cope with someone who you can't have. So yeah, put yourself first, people, and I just told you how to do that, how to start doing that, because it can be really hard to hear it when you don't know how to do it. So there you go, gave you some tools, and yeah, enjoy, people. I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you.